Howdy, it's Mr. Russell. We're here to talk about redox titrations. Great news, it's exactly like all the other titrations you've learned, which involves stoichiometry, so that might be bad news for you. All right, the only difference now is that we're not using an indicator. Most of these will act as indicators themselves, which is super great. Your oxidizing agent is going to react with your reducing agent. Okay, and they are going to be the same. And the point is to get, and the idea is to get to where the oxidizing agent and the reducing agent have the exact same number of moles. And that is when it changes color and looks like this. So we don't need an indicator this time. Before we needed one for the acid-base titrations, but not for redox. So again, we're trying to get to the entire idea of where the moles of oxidizing agent equals the moles of reducing agent. Okay, so for that you'll need a balanced equation here, and I'll give you a second to pause and read. All right, welcome back. So you've got 2 grams of a tablet of your iron, and you have your titrant here. So what you're going to do is you're going to start with the volume of your titrant, and you're going to use your molarity to change it into moles, right? So you've got moles of one substance here, and I'm just going to switch it and figure out how many moles of iron it takes to neutralize this. Okay, neutralize isn't the best word. It would either be oxidize or reduce. And then you would get your mole ratio to find out that, and then you can use the molar mass to figure out how many grams of iron is necessary. Now we got the +2 here, and we don't have a +2 here. That doesn't make a difference because those electrons are their mass is negligible, so it's okay to just go with what you got on the periodic table. So we find out that the mass of iron that was actually in the tablet was 0.3072. Well, that's great. Now it asks us for the percent, so I need to take the part divided by the whole times 100, and I get 15.36%. Now, you can also do it the other way. Instead of the oxidizing agent in the titrant, you can also put the reducing agent in the titrant. Okay, and you can do this with iodine, and you can also do it with thiosulfate right here, which is pretty great. So we're going to do this in our lab where we're going to have some bleach, and we're going to do actually we're going to do hydrogen peroxide, and we're not going to do bleach, but it's the same kind of thing. So I'll give you a second to pause and read this. And what we've got here, we have 2 equations now. So it is working out so that we have 10 milliliters of our bleach here, and it is reacting with the iodine, okay? And then it's titrated with this, okay? Now it gives us the amount of titrant for this. Now the titrant, from that we can figure out the moles of our titrant here, and then we can figure out the moles of our iodine here, and then we can figure out the moles of our iodine here, and then figure out the moles of our OCl minus. Now, Mr. Russell, you could also go from here to here, moles of our titrant of S2O3 to the I minus, and we could go from I minus also to I minus here, and then I minus to OCl minus. You could do the same thing. So you'll again start with the volume of your titrant, always start with that, and you will convert it into moles using your molarity, and then you will convert the moles of S2O3 to moles of I2. You could have done I minus if you wanted, and then you could have done convert it to moles of OCl. So you were combining 2 different equations. That's okay. You're allowed to do that. You will find that many moles of OCO. It asked me the concentration, so I'm going to take the moles and divide it by the liters. It was in 10 milliliters, so that 10 milliliters right there. So I'm going to use that. Okay. Now, another real life example of this is breathalyzer test. What they will do is we have chromate, dichromate, and it will react with alcohol and it will turn to the chromium 3 plus. It will end up being reduced from the 6 plus to the 3 plus, which is cool. That's actually how breathalyzer tests work. For an FYI. Same kind of thing. It changes from orange into green. Now, this can be applied to an environmental sense because we can use it to test the oxygen saturation or the oxygen concentration of dissolved oxygen in water. So, and this is called BOD, biochemical oxygen demand. Now, this is just a normal way to measure this, and it's mostly in aquatic life. Now, it's a test that's run over 5 days. Okay, we basically take a sample of water and we saturate it with oxygen and let it sit there for 5 days. And the organisms that are in there are either going to consume the oxygen or produce more oxygen. Okay, and we do a titration after that. Now, what you must know is that a high calculated BOD is a sign of poor water quality right here. And that's not a good thing. We want our fish to be able to breathe, right? So what happens is the fertilizers in that we put on our lawns and in our crops and all that for our plants, they end up getting washed off by the rain, and then they move down the water table and dump into the rivers, and then those rivers dump into bigger rivers, and they end up dumping into the Gulf of Mexico. That's just, we're thinking local. And then what happens is those phosphates and those nitrates really feed the algae and all the weeds in there, and that algae is red. And that's how we get this red tide, if you see that. Well, the red tide is a real sign of poor water quality because it will consume all of that oxygen, and that's not good, okay? So that is a big thing. Now, what you got to know is you've got to know about the Winkler Method. It is just a series of reactions that's going on. You're taking manganese and you are converting manganese 2 into manganese 3, and then the manganese 3 are bonding with the diatomic oxygen to make a precipitate. Okay, and they make this precipitate. And then the precipitate is going to react with the I minus and to make the Mn 2 plus and the I2. Okay, and then the I2 is going to get reacted with S2O3. And you should get a visible endpoint right here. Now, added bonus, you can add some starch to the end just to make the color point, the endpoint much more bright. So it's super cool. Now you end up with this 2-to-1 ratio and a 1-to-1 ratio and then a 1-to-2. But basically, you really just need to know that the ratio of oxygen to thiosulfate is 1-to-4. So for every mole of oxygen, there are 4 moles of thiosulfate needed. Okay? Just kind of remember that one. That's the important number, 1-to-4. 1 oxygen to 4 thiosulfates. So you will have to take this and you need to change the numbers that are in your notes because So what happens is a 500 milliliter volume of water is reacted with the Winkler method, and then 9.5 milliliters of a 0.05 molar sodium thiosulfate is needed to react with the iodine. produced, we want to calculate the dissolved oxygen content of the water. So you take that 9.5 and then you multiply by the molarity, okay, and find the number of moles of sodium thiosulfate. Not too bad. And then we know that the moles of thiosulfate to oxygen is a 4-to-1 process. Cool. And then we can change that into grams, okay? Because we're looking for ppm right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take grams here, and if you remember that ppm, or parts per million, is the mass of the component, that would be oxygen in this case, divided by the total mass of solution. So ask yourself this question: what's the total mass of solution? If you said 500, you're close, okay? You're supposed to do 500 plus 0.00038. Remember that mass right here is going to be, you need to include the mass of the solute that you put in there, okay? It's a subtle difference, but it makes it's necessary. We know that there's 500 grams of water here because we're assuming that 500 milliliters equals 500 grams. So we end up with 7.59 ppm. All right, and that's all I have for you guys. Have a great day.